Now, if today's YouTube video doesn't perform as well as it should, I can totally live with it because I really think that the intel that I'm going to break down in this video should help players that maybe have mastered the beginner level offensive tips in Madden, but are starting to struggle with some of the more intricate types of defenses they face online. Some of what I'm going to break down here is going to simplify the game. And honestly, these types of videos are good for me. It's therapy for me because I fall into bad habits where I force things over and over. And I kind of go into a seeing ghosts version of myself on the offense where I become predictable, I hammer the same things, or I'm not paying attention to detail in ways that I should. So I'm gonna try to set up a simulation here in this video so you can understand how a typical game flow against a intermediate to advanced to elite level player should go. So we're gonna focus on offense here, and we're gonna talk about my favorite offense, the bunch tight end. Now, with this particular offense, one of the things that I love to do is bomb coverage, but sometimes I fall in love with that. And I know that you guys do as well. And one of the easiest things that you could do is slow down, breathe, and pay attention to what adjustments your opponents are making. So to kind of illustrate this here, we're going to run a little bit of the dollar meta, quote unquote. This is your 3-2, your 1-4 style defense. And I'm going to make some over adjustments within this and kind of explain to you what you should think or what you should pay attention to with this. So let's go ahead and start off here with one of my favorite plays, a play that I break down all the time here on the channel. And this is PA verticals out of the bunch tight end. Now, for what it's worth, you can find my entire offense on gridirongameplans.gg. But one of my favorite route combos that I like to use out of this offense is essentially to run a flood like this, where I'm using Odunze pushing everything deep down the left sideline on the wide side. And that hopefully opens up enough turf for Patterson to kind of fizzle into the sideline. And against the heavy blitz meta that so many players like to run, this is a killer because with this being a play action based play, a lot of times with this, I can basically dumb out the blitz and then just use the playmaker to Olsen in the middle of the field, which draws the attention of the user. So we'll kind of mimic that by just putting Parsons in a spy. And the route typically looks like this. I just throw this into the sideline, boom, conservative catch, pick up a gain of 25 to 30, and we move on. Now, I can hammer this throw all day long against zone. Basically, what your opponents have to do is one of two different things. So let's kind of explain what that is here. The first thing that they could do is they could go and set zone drops. And this is a pretty common response that a lot of players will have. They'll set their flats to 30, they'll set their curl flats to 5, and they'll do what's called mabling. And you might see a single side mabel. This is basically a defense that allows them to have 3 sideline zones to combat people that like to flood 3 different areas of the sideline. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see a purple that's set to 5. And then you're going to see a blue that's set to 30. And then they're going to keep a deep half over the top. And then they might make a custom adjustment here, which ends up with, you know, maybe a defense that looks like this. It's basically got 3 deep sideline zones on the far left. And then you kind of have a middle of the field zone, a flat on the right, and the user in the middle of the field, which again, we'll just put into a spy. Now with this is going to naturally take away what I'm attempting to accomplish. So while I can pick up the blitz out of this, I don't really have what I'm looking for from a route perspective, unless maybe we throw that deep throw over the top. So what you'll notice here with this is that this play does a good job of beating Mabel in that this guy right here can actually take the lid off the defense and beat a deep half. So what a lot of players will start to do is they'll really over adjust their defense. So basically with this, I don't have that corner route, but I do have the over the top route to Odunze, which is the whole goal of this is I want them to bust that coverage badly. But what a lot of players will do is instead of an outside half, they'll play an outside third. And this effectively shuts down this play altogether. So what you end up with is basically the play gets completely nullified. And this is where a lot of players, including myself, get blinders. And I'll just smash this into oblivion. And it's like, it's not really there. Okay. So what do? Well, first off, you exhale and you realize that you need to be subscribed right here to the Zan Madden YouTube channel, because I'm dropping free content every single day, Monday through Friday in the mornings with long forms and shorts in the afternoons to help make you guys better at this game absolutely free. So do be a solid, make sure you guys do that. Drop a comment below as well. It helps this video perform in the YouTube algorithm so it reaches other players like you looking for tips and tutorial content. But as I mentioned, the sideline is absolutely flooded. So if you snap the ball and you see 3 dudes all go to the sideline like this, the sideline is shut down. Quit spamming sideline route combos. It sounds so common sense, simple, dumb, stupid, like it's obvious, right? But when you're in the heat in the moment and you're playing someone good and they're getting pressure on you, maybe you're worried about the pressure. When you're worried about pressure, it takes your attention off the coverage, but it's really, really simple. Does the sideline look like I should be throwing to it here? No. So how do you modify your behavior? Well, when somebody does what is called mabling, you have to start basically checking up routes in the middle of the field. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to run a super curl. I'll just run a streak and I'll run like a 30-yard curl, sometimes 25, sometimes 20, just depends on how my opponent is playing. And I'll just have that sit in the dead middle of the field. And why is that? Well, that's because I know that if they're going to run a 5-yard purple, a 30-yard blue, and a deep third over the top, that means that there's a lot of seam wide open unless the user wants to go stand right here. So all I've got to do is block that blitz and basically keep their attention in the middle of the field. One thing I might do, put the tight end on a hook. User can't be here and also here at the same time in this coverage. So what have I done? I've said, okay, throw everybody into the sideline on zones. I'm going to push the seam vertically. I'm going to set down a deep route in the middle of the field in the seam. He's going to show his numbers to me and I'm going to throw it on time. And if you want to go out there, I'll hit the tight end. But we're going to mimic, again, the user on the tight end here. We snap the ball, blitz thumbs out. I'm going to step into this throw. And you see X was open, okay? Again, the shed got to me. Don't worry about that so much. The concept was tried and true. Now, with the spacing on that, I actually wasn't a huge fan of how tight those routes were together. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say hello to my daughter, Charlotte, who's coming in here as I'm recording a YouTube video. She wants to say hello. So say hi, baby Charlotte. Had a good nap. And she's going to go back to mommy right now. Cameo from the daughter. All right, so what we're going to do here with this is we are going to just kind of give ourselves a little bit more room here on this, because I want that curl a little bit deeper in the left seam. The reason that we want that is that we don't want the curl from the tight end and the curl from the outside player X to be too close together. So something like this is actually just fine. You take Odunze, kind of push him up about like this. That's going to give you more room. With the crazy athletic users in this game, this is probably something you should do anyways. And again, with this, once you block the blitz, this route is just going to sit down in the middle of the field. This is super easy to throw. And you picked up just as many yards against the exact same coverage by changing one thing about your concept. Again, it's just paying attention to detail. Now, when it's all zones, that's easier to do. Where this can start to become a little bit fuzzier for most players is when it becomes an individual man-up game. And what I mean by that is some players will play zone, but then they'll start to target individual receivers within your offense. Maybe it's a specific route that's getting open against zone, so they want it manned up, so there's an extra player on that. That's actually a really good adjustment that a lot of great players will use in Madden, and it can shut down some even intermediate to also elite level players because they're just really good at paying attention to detail. So maybe we go ahead here in this example and we say, all right, well, we're going to take out the B receiver. He's the one running that corner route. And then what we're going to do is we'll just go ahead and set up our loop blitz so it looks like this. Okay, so again, for all intents and purposes, we're running the same coverage. It's a cover 4. We're just running a 3-man loop instead of a 4-man loop. And we're neutralizing the route that was open against the cover 4 version that we started off with about 5 minutes ago. And when we snap this ball, you know, we block the blitz, but, you know, I can't throw that because it was manned up, or we'll simulate that was thrown up. I probably could have passed led that to the sideline, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say that it wasn't that open. So what you need to do from this perspective is say, all right, well, he's sacrificing a player within his zone to guard an individual player. And that's the player I really want to throw to. Now, again, pretend it's covered. Okay, I know I could have thrown this. This is an easy throw. I mean, it's open. But let's just say that Ramsey smothered it. In this situation, this hypothetical situation, you need to realize, okay, zone, Patterson is manned up. And you need to formulate a better plan off of that tendency. And what I tend to do is I do what's called a double sacrifice, or at least what I call it. It's not really called that. It's just easy way to kind of explain it. If they're going to run a defense where Patterson is going to be basically a neutralized player, from an offensive perspective, my mindset needs to immediately become, I'm not throwing to him. So if I can't throw to him, what do I need to do with him? The first option is a vertical sacrifice. If I run him all the way down the field here on this particular call, he is going to run his man that's guarding him and the deep zone on that play out of the play. So what that means is now I've neutralized basically the safety on that side, and I could go back to, for instance, maybe that super curl to this player. Pretty simple concept, right? So we snap this ball, maybe we occupy right here, and we say, all right, well, you're going to man him up. That's fine. I've got Devin Hester in the middle of the field. Boom. So I'm not throwing to Cordero, but I could use him to take his man in another zone. And actually, if we really want to get down and dirty with it, he not only took the zone over here, but he took this guy out of the play. Because if you watch this safety, he actually drops back and covers absolutely nothing and tries to stay over the top of Cordero Patterson because he's pushing in between both safeties. So we neutralized 3 defenders by realizing, all right, well, you want to take Patterson out of the play. I'll just take 3 of your defenders out of the play so I could open up other guys on the field. Pretty common sense stuff here, but it's stuff you don't think about when you're in the heat of battle, you know? The other option that you have available to you when somebody is doing this is a horizontal sacrifice. So I'm going to stay in that exact same play here, and we're going to set up the exact same defense, and I'm going to say, all right, well, you want to man up Patterson with this exact defense. Well, I'm not going to push vertical with Patterson, but what I can do is send him to the flat, in which case he's going to pull the flat zone and his man out of the equation, which means what? This means now that I've got the hitch potentially open here. So what we can do is now run a concept that maybe looks like this. Why would you do that? Well, we're using Odunze to push the zones back. We're using Patterson to pull his man in the flat zone out. So Hester's wide open. Therefore, the user has to be there. And if the user's there, guess who's open? This guy, possession catch, midfield elite or mid-in elite. And you throw that rock. And of course, if the user guards that guy, you throw the ball to Hester. But of course, if they're on Hester, you're throwing the other route, which is that guy. So again, it's all about exhaling and realizing, all right, well, you know, I've got my main offense, but my opponent's not going to sit in stock defenses that I've labbed this against. He's going to make adjustments. You have to identify the adjustments and be able to realize, all right, it's a Mabel. I can't throw 3 routes into the sideline. I've got to start to utilize the middle of the field more. What can I do? Or, oh, he's manning up the guy that's getting open in this zone concept. He's staying in the same zone, but he's manning him up and then sacrificing that player vertical so he pulls the man and the zone, or sacrificing that guy horizontal so he pulls the man in the flat zone. But that is how you guys will get better on offense, by just making small changes, paying just a little more attention to detail, and you're going to be in a much better spot against these confusing defenses that a lot of players think are very, very hard to beat. So I hope that this video helped you guys out. If it did, make sure you guys give it a like. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get lab in. Good luck.